What's up, everybody? Welcome to the second episode of Channel 7 Club Curling. I'm your host, Joe Widmer. This is a podcast about club curling by club curlers. That's usually the case. We've actually got some pretty legitimate talent in the house tonight. I'll get to my guest here in a little bit. We're going to join a game that's in progress in Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo Curling Club is becoming one of my favorites as I've started doing this podcast. I've done a lot of research on where the good games are. And this club has got a bright future. You can tell that they play on hockey ice, but they take pristine care of the ice. You're going to see a lot of curl and a lot of technique from these guys. They're not amateur. Well, they're amateurs, but they're in terms of club curling, these guys take it serious. So I'm really excited to watch this game. Let's do a quick recap here to show you how we got to blue 5, yellow 3. This is a big end. The big 4. Nice bounce back dude. Came close there. And looking at a pile there, but 4 hangs on to get 1. Okay, so the game in progress. I'm going to introduce my guest. His name is Connor Kaufman. He is, now he's a local boy. He is from Seattle, curls out of Chaska. And Connor, why don't you don't be modest. Tell us about your background and your experience and where you've been and all of that, because I need them to hear it from your mouth that to believe that I got a real guest on this. No offense to Rebecca and future guest.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for the intro, Joe. So yeah, like Joe was saying, I come from Seattle, well, just north of Seattle originally. Lived out there most of my life, 18 years, and then curling was big. Both my parents did it. My dad was lucky enough to be the alternate on the men's team that went to Worlds in 01 and 04. So I just
Cool, I
kind of
didn't know
grew
that.
up. Yeah, so I just kind of grew up around the curling club, and then got into it competitively and graduated high school and decided curling is what I wanted to do. So picked up shop and moved about 1,800 miles out to Minneapolis. And so I've been out here now for 3.5 years. I curl down in Chaska. I spend a lot of time up at the Four Seasons Curling Club up in Blaine. And then I was lucky enough to get a silver medal at Junior Nationals in 2021 and 2022 with, let's see, who was all on those teams. 21, it was Aiden Oldenburg, Jake Zeman, Nick Soto, and Jake Thurston. And then in 2022, it was Sydney Harris, Jake Zeman again, and then Ethan Hebert. So that's kind of my curling journey thus far.
Yeah, and you had so that was your junior run, but you also played with Ronan. You went to nationals, right?
Yeah, so I went to men's nationals last year, so that would have been in 2023, playing with, again, Aiden Oldenburg, Sam Strauss, and then Rich was lucky enough, well, nice enough to come skip for us. We had a situation and we lost a skip
Okay.
earlier on in the season, and so Rich was nice enough to come and skip for us at nationals. So that was, I'll tell you, that was an experience. There's nothing quite like playing in an arena with those bowl seats up there looking down on you. It was cool.
Yeah, tell me about the difference between, I mean, obviously juniors is going to have a vibe and the competition is fierce, but I mean, you're seeing the big boys at the nationals. I mean, what is it like to play against those guys?
It's just a different level, honestly. Juniors was great, and obviously I got to play against some really great curlers in juniors. Played
Yeah, we
against
should mention that some of the people you played against in juniors are now still rolling in nationals. So
yeah, I mean
there's some overlap.
yeah, that 22 final I lost to Ethan Sampson, and he's obviously still playing and going strong. Has played a nice last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
But I think the big difference between juniors and men's is the bottom tier of the men's is still pretty freaking good. Sometimes at a junior level you'll play at a spiel, and the bottom teams are, they're a local U16 team or something, right? But you play at some men's spiels, and the worst team there is in the top 150, 100 in the world. So
Yeah.
you gotta show up.
Is it really just about, I mean, I have to feel that at nationals, everybody's strategy is on point up to a certain level. Is it just come down to consistency at that point? Or are you guys just like, I've got to be shooting 90% if we're gonna have a chance? How does that? What's the mindset?
Consistency is huge. I mean, curling's a lot like golf. There's so much overlap there from a mental side of things.
Hmm.
But one of the things that I always think about is what separates the top 25 golfers. Are any of them actually that much better than anyone else, or are the top five just showing up and playing their best week in and week out? And
Yeah.
I think curling's kind of similar. Like if you get into the top 25 teams in the world, they can all go out and win curling games against anybody. They all have that ability. But the teams that are one, two, three, they're the ones that are doing it every single weekend.
Yep. Yep. I in the local Twin Cities, Bonspiel, and probably in the region too. Margie Smith is kind of this local hero who, I mean, she's always competing at the higher levels for our Bonspiels. I mean, you go to St. Paul Curling Club and we play a little like take a shot when you see her name. They've got this quilted pattern of championship banners hanging, and she's on like every fifth one. Um, and I somebody told me that she kind of got to the game late too, and I thought that was really interesting. But I was swinging through Chaska, like forgot a water bottle or something, and I popped in there, and she was the only person on the ice, and she was throwing dozens of draws. She was just in her spot, and that's what it takes. You gotta, what separates Tiger Woods from the other guys is probably 5 more buckets of balls every day, just in terms of the repetition and really getting that down. So I feel that for sure. How did you do against we'll just name drop here. How did you do against Schuster?
So I got a couple funny stories from that game, actually.
That was actually
Um,
really unfair of me to just be like, "Welcome to the show. You played against Schuster. How bad was it?"
so it wasn't terrible. I can't remember if we lost by one or two. We had a shot
That's
to send
respectable.
it to an extra in the 10th. But going back a little further here, so we had these brooms that we were playing with last year. And they were a few years old, but like they were all the same, and we didn't have to pay for them that year, so that was great. Um, but we only brought five, and the night before we played Schuster, one of them broke.
Wow.
Okay, not a big deal, right? You bring five for a reason. There's four players. Now we have four. Well, then we show up the morning, and I'm changing out my brush head to go play John, and mine breaks too.
Wow.
So,
Are
so
you
I'm
talking
sit.
just like right at the head or like something
Yeah.
more?
So the
Yeah.
headpiece has a little like metal bar that goes across it, and on
Yeah.
both of those, that snapped.
Wow. Do you wanna, like, drag a manufacturer right now? Do you do you wanna
I think I'm gonna hold off because I still really like their equipment. I blame it on the brooms being like 4 years old.
Okay, okay.
Um, so that happened. Now we're sitting there like crap. We only have three brooms. So luckily enough, Sam's sister Delaney was also playing at the event, and so they had a ton of brooms, and they're not playing on the same draw as us. So we were able to steal one of theirs, but it was a different brand that I hadn't curled with all season long.
Yeah.
And so, it's a small difference, but it's enough of a difference. And man, I can't remember, probably in like the second end, I'm throwing this peel weight double on my intern, and I come out and just go sideways. I mean,
Oh,
just there's a
wow.
if we I'll find the video and send it to you because it's a wipeout. Um, get the rock off, hit one of the two stones I was trying, so I was pretty happy with that.
Sure.
But that was that was maybe a little bit embarrassing. You're playing against, it's John. You're playing against John at nationals. It's like your third rock of the game, and you just fall over sideways. But Chris came up to me after that and he's like, "Hey, dude, it's all right. I had one of those earlier in the week." So,
That's awesome.
but
Yeah, I mean, I guess for us club curlers, and the ones that use brooms as stabilizers, yeah, I don't like anything messing with my routine, and I don't throw like 8-second peel weight, so I'm not like flying out of the hack either. So that would be a huge adjustment. That's the weirdest time to have to make that adjustment for sure.
it was not ideal, and I think for me, it probably affected me more than it should have. But I'm pretty specific. Like on brooms, I'll either put a piece of tape or make sure, hey, my hand goes like I'm playing with hardline now, and like my hand goes right on the E every single time. My
Yeah.
thumb goes right there. So when you change brands, well, where's my
Where's your
spot
E?
now?
Yeah.
So I think that had something to do with it. Maybe I just slipped. Who knows?
Wow, what could have been? That's crazy.
Yeah. The other, I wouldn't call it a funny story, but the other story from that same game against John is we had hammer in the last and we were down, I think one, maybe two, something like that, maybe one. Um, and we had before Rich's last shot, we had like 30 seconds on our clock. But that's enough time to get down and throw. Like we assumed everybody knew. Apparently not everybody knew. So John's rock comes to rest, and then Rich is like standing in the house, just looking like, what do you think? So I kind of run down there and I'm like, hey, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Um, so he comes down and he kind of leisurely comes down the ice. So me and Aiden, we're sweeping and we're sitting there just stressing out. Um, Finally gets into the hack, goes to clean his rock, and then looks up at me and is like, hey, Connor, do you like this? And so Aiden from the other side is just getting amped, and he's like, Rich, throw the rock. Um, so we throw it, and I don't know if you know this, but at national competitions, when you're on time clocks, the clocks don't go past like the 1 second mark. That's all they
Mhm.
can do. So when your clock gets to 20 seconds, an official takes a stopwatch and clicks it, and that now becomes the official watch of the game.
Yeah.
And they'll click it again when you hit the T line where the clock stops. And if it says anything more than 20 seconds, they walk out and pull the rock and you lose.
Yeah, when I met you, we talked about maybe it was this story, maybe it was something similar, and you had to remind me at these anything is this World Curling Federation rules, where it's not that you just don't get to throw that rock, you actually lose the game. Like
Yeah,
it's over.
it's a brutal penalty, so don't run out of time. But
Wow, man.
yeah,
And
so I
what did the stop clock? What did the stopwatch finish on? What? How much time did you have?
yeah, so the official walks up to me after the game and he shows me the clock and it is 19 seconds point 75.
Wow,
We had a quarter of a second left.
that's uh, that's an amazing story,
Yeah.
especially with for it being so close too.
Yeah, it would have been better if we made it. We probably missed it by about an inch, but
It's a
such
game of
is
inches for sure.
such is the game sometimes.
This club we're watching here. Have you ever played at Kalamazoo?
I've not played at Kalamazoo. However, I think Marcus Gleaton is actually playing right now.
Oh yeah,
Um,
look at the names. Gleaton versus Gleaton.
yeah. So I think he's in the striped blue and gray, the darker one skipping.
Yeah, the not shot right or not, holding the broom right now, but
Yeah.
right behind him.
Yep, exactly. So he plays mixed doubles with Stephanie Seneker, who's also in Michigan. And me and my partner, Rach Kavleski, actually played against them at the doubles qualifier in
Oh, cool. I
Denver
had no
this
idea when
year.
I set this up that you had any connection to these guys. This is sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, you turned it on. I'm like, hey, I know him. But no,
So
and
we
he
got some
was
ballers here, huh?
oh yeah, no, he's a good curler.
Yeah.
So he was fun to play against, fun to talk to after. So shout out Marcus. He's a great guy.
I had queued up this game before the U.S. Nationals, but I don't know if you saw like in between ends and the fifth end break and stuff. They were showing like clubs were allowed to like run a 30-second or a minute long video from their clubs. Frogtown, my club did one. I've got it here. I'll after this guy's shot, we'll they did a really cool. I'll just let the video speak for itself, but you actually get to see the kind of unique space that they're curling in, and how desperately bad these guys need their own club. This is a really circuitous way that they get into their club, and you can kind of see the tables where they hang out and stuff, and it's like it's kind of wild. Here, it's a drone thing. I'll cue it up right now.
Perfect.
So this ran during the nationals, and it just caught my eye because so I met you through a TCCA event and doing communications and marketing, and the outgoing president Bob Down was like, there's a really famous drone video of in Minneapolis, the Bryant Lake Bowl. They kind of were the first one to go viral doing this. And we were talking about buzzing all the clubs with this racing drone type technique. And we're like, yeah, that'd be nice to do in the future. And then I'm watching US Nationals, and all of a sudden I see this, and I'm like, this is great. And I love it. They got no shame in their game. The volunteers make these scoreboards. They slide them around every night. This is a little dicey. Whoa.
You gotta trust that drone operator.
Yeah, you really do. They pull another move here. These sweepers. I mean, this is the move right here. They don't give them much.
Yeah, that is not a lot of room there.
Boom.
Boom.
Kalamazoo, come check us out.
That's an awesome video. Shout out Kalamazoo Curling Club.
I thought that was really cool. I love it. There's like, after the Bryant Lake Bowl video went kind of viral, I invite anyone to look it up. It's really cool. Same idea, except that drone operator was like, because there's like drone racing. It's like a sport.
Yeah.
Apparently anything's a sport these days. I don't know. Look at this silly game. But they hired a drone racing champion to do that move, and it sounded like they took like 19 takes to get it right, but he did all that stuff. He flew in, buzzed the bartenders, and then a bowler was queued up to go. They followed the ball down, the pins scatter, the drone goes into the guts of the pin sorter and flies around up there and looks down on that and then comes flying back out. And you're just thinking like 2 inches one way, and it's getting ground up in this pin sorting machine. It's really, you get to see like behind the scenes of a bowling alley, and it was just some bar bowling alley in Minneapolis that was kind of had an idea for a commercial, and it just went like ultra viral, and now it's kind of the standard for these establishing shots. So, and I've been watching these Kalamazoo games going, what's going on here? Like, where is this? What's it like? And especially that first 10 seconds when they're going through those hallways, and you see they're just sort of stacking tables wherever there's a space, So these curlers get off the ice and they go to some alcove in a cinder block hallway and have their beers. I just love the commitment, It's just anything to get on the ice. So
yeah, so one of my old coaches, John Benton, who actually does the curling stadium stuff and just did that for the U.S. men's and women's nationals. One of the
nailed
things
it.
he
Absolutely nailed it. Yeah, they did a great job.
I love getting to see that much curling. I'm a curling junkie. I always tell people that I have played a lot of curling in my life, but I've watched more curling than I've played. If that gives you an idea of how often I'm watching curling.
Yeah.
But one of the things he said, because he went to the Olympics in 2010, and different clubs will ask him to come out and speak and just appear, right? And one of the things he's told me multiple times is there is no passion for curling quite like you see in arena curling clubs.
Yeah.
Just
shout out to Arena. Actually, I was wearing something goofy, so I put on my so St. Croix Curling Club is my arena league. So not only am I at Proctown, but I'm a board member for the St. Croix, and we play on hockey ice, and it's a different game, but it's all volunteer driven. We drag the stones out before every game and put them away after everyone, and the Zamboni is that's our nipper, and it's got its own challenges, but yeah, we're super into it. It's basically a club that was started by maybe 8 St. Paul Curling Club members that live in the East Metro, and wanted to get something a little closer, and they started after the 2018 Olympics, and we were gonna get a dedicated facility at some point, but we got a little knocked back from COVID. It kind of reset all those plans, but it's a great group of people. I've watched 200 people get introduced to the sport. And I'm really good friends with some people that just are fanatical about it now, and it's really fun to see. And they're kind of dispersing out to the different Twin Cities clubs and playing where they can. And yeah, arena, you got to love it to do it for
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think I would have the commitment to curling to do the arena thing. Bring the rocks in, melt the hacks in, bring the rocks. Man, that's a lot of work.
I mean, So, I mean, in full disclosure, I don't have a team this year. I am a board member. I didn't field a team this year. I have a pretty good excuse. My son was doing junior programs that conflicted. My wife had to drive him there, so that's two of my four members. And my lead, who's shout out to Tommy Boy, or Donnie Boy, he uh he had his fourth heart attack, and doctor was pretty clear that he shouldn't do anything like this for a little bit. So um, he's doing all right, but it's been about a year. But yeah, so I mean, when your players are having heart attacks and your other player's 13, and it's like you've tried to get like four people with their work schedules to like make it happen. Like I had unique challenges this year.
Oh, I understand that. I mean, obviously, just trying to get four people together for a league is tough
Yeah.
enough. Imagine trying to get four people together to play a competitive curling season, and you go up to someone and you're like, "Hey, how does this sound? You're not going to make a living, but you get to spend 2 to 3 weekends away from home every winter."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not quite the easiest sell ever, but it
And
leaves
I
you with
mean,
these.
these are good curlers. They go, we're gonna lose, right? And you're like, yeah, but it's gonna be awesome. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. I love that you've got that experience. I got to curling so late in my life. I'm such an old dog. These are new tricks. I'll never get there. I'm loving a fourth event in a small bonspiel. Is just like, man, that feels great. So totally jealous of all the nationals and the junior stuff that you did. That would just be so much fun. I mean, how tight are you with those guys that you went through that with? Is that just a real bond or what?
Yeah, I mean, I've played with so many different people over the last 4 years of curling, and obviously your relationships with people are different depending on your situation. But one of the guys I used to play with a ton, his name's Coleman Thurston. He plays with Ethan Sampson's team now, but I
Okay.
played with him for a year, and I mean, anytime I see him, we end up talking curling for like 2 hours, and then it's like, crap, I got somewhere to be. Let's end this. So
Yeah,
I think that you really do form some bonds with those kind of guys, because you, again, like, you end up spending more time with these people than you do with your family sometimes.
absolutely. Yeah.
So you better like them, or that team's not going to last very long.
Yeah. I mean, Curling Stadium did such a good job broadcasting this one. Mics on everybody, the thirds and skips and stuff like that. It was interesting to see the teams that weren't gelling really well, and you could hear that. And so you're sitting there watching this team and you're like, guys, you need to bring it together. Like you're on the big stage right now, and you guys like I saw leads bickering with their skips and stuff like that. And it's like, what do all the best teams in the world have? They're super disciplined about that stuff. Like you got to put together a team that you really like if you're going to make a run, because you spend a lot of time with each other.
Definitely, and that togetherness too. I think that's why you see a lot of teams. That's a really nice draw there. That is not an easy
No, he's
draw against four.
looking at a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the things that you see with these top teams, and one of the reasons that top teams are top teams, is they spend a lot of time together. I think one of the best examples is Brad Gushu and Mark
Hmm.
Nichols. They've curled together for, what is it now, like 20 years? You think they don't know each other's brains inside and out? Like, if you ever get a
Absolutely.
chance, watch their games when they're mic'd up, because they won't
Yeah.
even say something to each other sometimes,
Yeah,
and
it doesn't
Brad
make
will
for
just
great
like,
radio. They're so, we have a Brad Gushu sticker. Nobody's really, I'm gonna say that guard's a little high. Maybe the skip is a little bummed out at that. Ah, jeez.
That's awesome.
I
I
was a
love
little
that.
more liberal with these last week. There was we were watching a game that had maybe a few more things, but we got little stickers of different skips and other players that. But yeah, Mark Nichols and Brad Gusha are a great example of like we're gonna do a few things fundamentally sound, and one of them is gonna be we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about this game at the fifth end break, and we're gonna talk about it tonight or tomorrow, and we're gonna come in with a plan and really stick with it. That's a pretty nice tick if we're calling it that.
I was gonna say if that was on purpose, that was awesome.
Yeah,
Can't make the tick shot a whole lot better than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah. That's just a an observation of how the top Canadian teams seem to do. They have such deep benches in terms of how many teams they are, but they're really disciplined. You hear people on the hot mic get mad at themselves, and as somebody who kind of gets a little passionate about it, I know that like when you mentioned the broom breaking, I had the biggest faux pas. I broke my broom. I didn't like break it over my knee, but I came up light on something and I just gave it too much of a smack, and some of that internal little clippy stuff fell apart and I had to replace all that. So I get that part of it, but keep it together with your your team and your skip and like finish the job, like the how many curling games have you seen where people have come back from 4-5? It's like it's not time to get so frustrated that you can't finish the game.
Yeah, and I mean, like to John's credit, that's one of the things that he does exceptionally well. I mean, when was
He
the
has
last?
a wealth of patience because I think he at one point he made a deal with the devil and said, "I'll take Matt Hamilton on my team. He makes really good shots." Because Matt is so outspoken and the but Matt has a built-in governor. He'll give him 10 seconds of his idea and Matt knows when it's like "Beep,
Well,
John has
and it
John has spoken."
yeah, and it works for them too, right? Another good example of that. You ever watch Ben Hebert curl ever? I mean, he talks constantly, and he's
Yeah.
talking to when he played with Cooey, he's in his ear. When he played with
Yeah.
Martin, he's in his ear. Like, but that works for those teams. That works for those skips, and they're guys that have because John has the personality to tell Matt, "Hey, it's time for you to stop.
Yeah.
Let's go make this shot." And then
And
you see
it'd be one thing if he's out there throwing 75%. That dude
makes a lot.
and and now he's at the lead and he's making those shots and it's just like and he actually I have seen him sway Schuster on a shot here and there, just kind of be like, I think we could do this, like what about this? And I've seen him go, okay, maybe that's John saying I got to give Hamilton 3 of these a season to sort of keep him involved. But the formula seems to be working. They were awesome. It was a great finals. We also had a Anderson and Peterson game. I That game was going really tight. There was a shot that I might not have called, and I'm talking about the Anderson Peterson stole 4,
Yeah.
I think it was, or something like
Yep.
that.
Yeah. In the what was it? I have it up actually over here in the fifth.
So, was there a draw? It looked like there was a port to me, and I know TV screens can kind of be flat perspective, and maybe it wasn't there. Maybe they weren't staggered right. But that hit and roll she was calling was Anderson was calling was so. I mean that stone was sitting on the tee line out in the 12 foot, maybe even
Yeah.
outside of that, and her goal to roll in. I just thought when you're taking on a team as good as Peterson, that that struck me as being sort of reckless. I don't
Yeah,
have
I
all the
don't I don't know if reckless is quite the term I would use. And Ty George said it on the broadcast, but that hit is out in the weeds. Like you said, you're outside in the 12-foot. You haven't really been out there all game. And it's important to recognize this is a shot for the game. Like whether you throw the hit, whether you throw the draw, whatever it is, you're
yeah.
throwing against, I think it was 6. Whatever you're
I like
playing
them.
is a shot for the game.
I'm gonna give him. He bent that thing around that guard. I'm gonna give him Kevin Martin.
Ooh,
Nice shot.
that
Nice
was a
shot,
nice
buddy.
shot. Yeah, losing a good spot here. But yeah, so like I was saying, it's a shot for the game, and I was confused by it. I know Ty was confused by it because yeah, the hit and roll's there, but you got to roll 6 feet to like a 1 foot spot
Yeah.
against the game. And that intern, yeah, it's tight. I mean, it was probably 2 rocks wide, that port, but it's in the draw path. It's a draw to the 4 foot. And we talk a lot about if you're gonna skip at the highest levels, Kevin Martin actually, because you put him on screen, he talks about this a lot. Like he says you can't skip at the highest levels if you're not gonna hit the 4 foot every single time.
Yeah.
And I think that was just one of those situations where you it sucks. No one wants to throw an intern draw through a port that's 2 feet wide against the game, but that's what you sign up for. If you want to skip a team, you
Yeah.
need to make that. You at least need to call it. Like I don't even think you have to make it. It's great if you make it, but you
Yeah.
need
I
to
know what you're
have
saying.
the self assurance and the self confidence to hey put the broom down, go make it. Um, and it's tough, man. I've never been in a men's nationals final, but like I said, I've been into 2 junior ones, and it's stressful.
I can only imagine.
It's a lot of noise going on. There's a lot of outside factors, but at the end of the day, it's still curling. The rocks are still 42 pounds.
And I mean, you got to look at the opponent too. Did Tabitha Peters? Did they lose a game? I mean,
They lost the first one
oh,
to
they lost their. Yeah,
Anderson,
that's right. The
first in the
very
round
first one.
robin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How did Delaney Strauss do? I know
They
she
ended
got
up
to the third game or the 2-3 game. Is that right?
Yeah, they ended up third. I haven't had a chance to talk with any of them about how they felt about the week. I imagine they're feeling okay. I'm not sure. Like
Yeah.
going I think in some respects you have to feel like you're going backwards a little bit. I mean, you have a silver last year, you have a bronze this year, like and I think a lot of people outside in would call that going backwards, but at the end of the day, they had a really good season. They started out super hot. I think it was 3 tournaments back to back, all pretty major tour events. Um, and it's hard to be good consistently. Like
Yeah.
it's really difficult to spend whatever it is, 7 or 8 months consistently winning, consistently beating teams. So I imagine they're feeling okay, maybe a little disappointed, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, they're still in their early 20s and they have a lot of curling ahead of them.
Yep. I don't think he's gonna get as much movement he wants. Okay, so the yellow deuce is. I mean, it's setting up
Well,
for it, right?
it is well in hand now, especially if yellow's shot. I don't know if we can move
Oh yeah.
ourselves
See,
over here.
yeah. I'm also the host and the producer, so yeah, that's on me. That helps a lot. I don't know. It's tough to say. My gut tells me it's probably blue, but
I'm saying blue, and with them hitting this, I'm guessing it's blue. He indicated he wanted to roll under the center guard. I'd be pretty tempted to roll under the corner here
okay.
instead of under the center.
Yeah. Okay. Just harder to freeze to that stone then, or
Yeah, because Blue's goal, we're in the, what are we in? The seventh end? Blue's goal
yep.
here is to force. If you roll
Yep.
under the center, you're back 4 foot buried, and they come under and freeze to you. How do you score your
Hmm.
two?
Yeah.
If you roll under the corner, now you're sitting two. They either have to freeze to your yellow, which isn't an easy shot, or they got to draw under the center guard, and that's a lonely rock if they make it. And if they miss it, you're hitting it and sitting three.
Yeah.
Um,
How
as
important is this stone that Blue's throwing here? Does this have to be second shot, or does this just really have to be protecting shot stone?
It doesn't have to be second shot. The number one goal is because again, your goal in this end is to force yellow to 1 point. Um, Part of me would really like to throw the hit and roll on the yellow, even though
Okay.
your shot, if you hit the yellow, no matter what else happens, at most you're giving up two.
Yeah.
The draw is not a bad call by any stretch of the imagination because if you make it really good, kind of half buried under that yellow, now you're sitting two. They probably got to freeze to the back one and hope you miss. Um, but the main goal here is to make sure they don't have a nose hit on that blue one to sit two after this shot.
Yeah.
So light's
Pretty
okay.
pretty
Heavy's
tight
coming
broom.
at.
I think this is a pretty aggressive broom. I think they're going for it. We'll have to see. I'll get my happy skip stickers and my sad skip stickers ready to go here.
Yeah. And you got to be
So
careful taking aggressive broom on a shot like this because I guess if you overcurl, it's not terrible. Really
yeah,
want to protect that shot stone though, if you can.
yeah. This definitely looked like broom to bury this more than cover that. But oh, I've even got I've got a sticker for this.
Gotta go. Okay, well now you gotta be off. If you're gonna be light, you gotta stop sweeping.
Yeah.
Protect your blue.
They took the stickers way too literally. Like, just chill out. I was guilty of
Yeah.
that. I subbed on a team last night and just missed. I was throwing lead and I swept a really nice shot. Probably T line. I kicked it back. Halfway between back four, back eight, and I just go. That was on me. Just
Well,
had my
I'll
head down. I had my head. It was a new team. I'd never subbed for this team before. And I'm, me and my third, we'll scream at each other if we're over sweeping something or doing something, and nobody was telling me to stop. So
well,
just
I'll
got a
tell
little
you, I'll tell you, Joe, as someone who's done this for 16 years, I have never once overswept a rock in my life. So
nice.
I've definitely never swept a rock to the back 4 foot ever.
All right, I'm gonna give you the cooey. Satisfactory.
uh, Fun story, not about Cooey, but about a guy he was playing with last season when we were on tour. I guess 2 seasons ago now. So that 23 season, they were playing on a sheet next to us. I think we were in Alberta, and Karrick Martin, dude is insane to watch sweep in person. I mean, it's good on TV. It's incredible in person. And
Yeah.
he was just going to town on one on the sheet next to us. And all of a sudden, I just hear a snap, and I look over, and there's carbon fiber all
Wow.
over the sheet because he snapped his broom because he had his hand kind of in the middle when he sweeps, and he was just putting so much weight down on it, it just snapped on him. It's a good shot there.
Yeah.
Blue is in some
Since
trouble.
we're in the seventh end, I got stickers to burn here. I got my. It was even better than this, but I got my carry. I don't hate it.
I say I don't hate it probably more than any other phrase in the curling vernacular.
Yeah, it's a uniquely curling phrase too. I've never heard it anywhere else. Maybe golf, but
Yeah.
it lives in curling. It's I don't hate it. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, you'd love to hit this yellow. If you ever miss, it's the game. And even if you make it, if you hit it in the wrong spot, you might jam at the back yellow and give them a hit for 3.
Yeah.
So, we talked a little bit about Team Anderson and putting some pressure on a skip. Pressure on a skip on this one here.
So this is the other which Gleaton do you know or have met?
So I know Marcus. He's the yellow skip. So he's the
Okay.
other team in the darker blue.
So
jacket.
this is Chris. Okay.
Yeah. Probably. I don't know.
Well, if you look by our names, they're
Oh,
Gleaton versus Gleaton. Sounds
battle of
like
the
a personal
families.
injury law firm or something.
There you go. I don't know his name, but whoever's on Marcus's team in the gray baseball cap, shout out to him. He's a lefty. I'm also a lefty, so I like to point him out whenever I see him.
Skips all over the world. They're like, go away, all of you.
Mhm. I'd never played with a lefty until this year, actually. I played with Matt Wall, who's the club manager at the Eau Claire Curling Club.
Okay.
Played with him for the season, and that's the first time I've ever actually played with another lefty. Oh, this is
Ooh,
gonna
I
be
like
good.
this.
This is gonna be really good.
There you go. There's your force, right?
There's your force. Unless you want to get real tricky with some back 8 kind of thing with the intern.
Yeah. He's looking like he wants to do something.
It might drag if they're close enough. Do you know about the drag effect?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I also think this goes into, I mean, this is the perennial thing. Would you rather be up one without, or would you rather be down one with? Is this sort of Skip's choice really at this point about, you know, that perennial debate?
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts on that. I have a lot of thoughts on a lot of things, but on this specifically, it depends on two things to me. How much do you care about statistics, general statistics, and how much do you know the flow of the game so far?
Yeah.
And so what I mean by that, in curling, just general statistics at a men's level, at a women's level, anytime you are winning the game, regardless of by how many, what end it is, who has hammer, anytime you are winning, your odds to win are greater than 50%. Oh, does he have it for two? Oh,
That's a
pretty
good
good to make
effort.
that for one, though. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Marcus isn't happy, but that's not an easy shot. So, A, how much do you care about statistics? Because anytime you're up by any amount of points, it's more than 50% to win. Anytime you're losing, it's less than 50% to win. So if you care a lot about statistics, you'd always want to be up one without. And then the reason I talk about the game flow side of it is I think it depends a little bit on how the game has gone. Have you been trading ones back and forth? Nobody's
Yeah.
been able to score a two.
Sure.
Well, how likely are you to score a two in the eighth? Eh. But I mean, if it's been I took two, you took three, I took three, you took two, like if it's been that back and forth and just big multiples all game long, well, maybe you're feeling a little more confident in your ability to take two. So that's why I say it kind of depends.
Oh, geez, they just hogged that. They needed that so bad.
Oh
Oh,
no.
oh, geez. I don't have too many negative stickers because that's not really the point of this podcast. And,
No.
it's club curling, but, that was an odd geez moment.
Yeah,
Um,
those never feel good.
the game flow that you were talking about reminded me of Schuster Dropkin. Was it unusual that last game people were scoring in chunks? Sometimes it seems like their games really they get really fundamental and it's blanks, ones and twos, but all of a sudden people were chunking out like threes here and there, and then obviously Schuster had his five. Like, um, does is that not the game Dropkin wants to get into with Schuster? Like, even though he started the party with the big three, but is that really something to say like we need to calm this down, or is that Schuster's game to be going zeros, ones, and twos?
Schuster likes to play aggressive. He likes to have rocks in play. So if you watch a lot of John's games, they end up with twos and threes more often. Which is not quite how Corey likes to play. He likes to play a little more open. Let's keep things close. Score a one, score a blank, score a blank, score a one, and then yeah, we took a two or a three, and that's kind of how they win. It's
Yeah,
a lot more like how Brendan Botcher plays.
yeah,
Um, I think one of the and it's just stylistic differences. It depends a lot on your team too, right?
hmm,
I think John knows that his likelihood of making these super big, you know, double peel runbacks isn't as high as it is on some of the other top teams in the world. So why would I play a strategy? Marcus. Oh, she got it.
oh,
He put his hands up too early.
arms up.
There we go.
Even though we hate it. Rebecca last week on the episode was like, "You need to, you have the I don't hate it. I hate it sticker."
There you go. No, we're all about positivity here.
We
That's the
are,
point.
but we're also about having a good time. Speaking of a good time, since we are in the eighth end here, it's time to roast you a little bit. Um, how does it feel to be the second hottest curler slash real estate agent in Minnesota?
No, don't plug Corey. No,
Oh, I've
kidding.
got you too. I've got you too.
No, I love Corey. Corey's a good guy. Hey, there we
See,
are.
I think you got to get your picture up a little bit. I mean, if you look at Corey's, he's big,
Yeah,
you know.
that is true. He is front and center on there.
I like I mean, I'm a traditionalist. I like the I'm all business pose that you got going on there, but Corey's more like, "Hey, let's talk about real estate." And
Yeah.
you're like, "Hey, let me amortize your mortgage for you and let's talk about refi rates and whatever." So,
That's Russ's job. That's our loan officer's job to talk about that. I think for me, one of the reasons I chose that one, and I'll probably update it here in the next couple years, but I think being relatively recently licensed in the business and relatively new, and also being 21 years old, I think you can come across a little bit unprofessional if you have kind of the like, because I think I'm a fun guy, but if that's kind of my profile photo, I think a lot of people are gonna take it as, oh, who's this 21-year-old kid? Nah, I'm gonna go with someone else.
I gotcha.
So the idea was more to, hey, yeah, I'm 21, but I know how to be serious and take this seriously because it is a serious business. I mean, buying a house is the probably the biggest purchase you're ever going to make in your life, and you want somebody that you trust and that knows their stuff. So I want to portray that to other people.
I think I know the answer to this talking to a real estate agent, but rates are coming down this year, right?
That's what all the forecasts are saying. We're under 7, and we have been all year, so that's been good. We really think that spring market. I really think that spring market's going to be huge, even though in Minnesota there's still. Ah, man, another one?
Yeah.
Oh no, you can't have two. One you can come back from. Two, I don't know. Um, so even though in Minnesota inventory is still a little bit low, I think that rates are going the right direction, and there's a lot of pent up energy of people
There is,
that
yeah.
that
I've
want
got
to
friends that
buy.
are like sick of their house, hate their house,
Hmm.
and would love for. I mean, I think a quarter point would make them think about long and hard about it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I think rates are going. One of the things I like to tell people too, especially people that talk about, oh, well, rates are too high. I want to wait for them to come down. Buy the house at the price you want. Don't,
Yeah,
because you're not attached to the rate. The rate can
yeah,
change. You're not
yeah.
attached to
Refi
the,
later.
yeah, but you are attached to the price.
I'm with you, man.
So,
It's a buyer's market in that sense. There's a lot of people not looking right now. All those horror stories of like, yeah, we pulled up at the open house and they had 10 offers that night, and it's like if that was your experience before, go buy a house right now and refi later, and
mhm,
don't overextend yourself, but go find,
yeah,
there's there's people watching us right now screaming at their computer screen that that we're in the eighth end and we're talking. I just find it interesting. I sold commercial real estate for a few years, and it's just god dang, they had almost a third one. They got to be a
yeah,
little
but that's
careful here.
it's good enough. I think good enough is probably my second most used phrase in curling.
Yeah,
Not to get too deep into the strategy weeds here,
that I
but
love it. That's why you're here.
if you're blue, oh man, maybe not. I guess you're down a point. My gut says you got to peel this guard, but
Yeah,
they're losing, so I'm more okay with this. If blue is ever
I
tied
gotcha.
or winning, you
Yeah,
have to peel the guard.
I agree. Yeah.
Um,
And it's relatively high. I even if they this this hit and stick lands, yellow comes around and buries it. You've still got access to it. You've got to trust that you do.
you know, if they do hit and stick, yellow should actually throw another guard, throw like a top 12 or like a 3 guard.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming that blue. Oh, here we go. Yeah, he heard me.
Always trust a Gleaton to make the right response, the right
There
call.
you go. There you go.
What about coming from the intern side, and maybe if it undercurls, they're a little staggered, or do you really want these nose to nose?
You could come either way you want. They just threw this out turn, so why not go back to it? It worked for you the first time.
Yeah.
Um, in club curling, staggered guards are fine. Once you get higher and higher up the ranks of like men's and women's curling,
Yeah.
staggered guards are a death sentence because
It's a
it's just
double peel
yeah,
opportunity.
it's
Yeah.
just too easy to double peel them.
Oh,
So you
plan
want
B,
the
plan B.
get a
Big
nibble of it,
plan B.
nibble of it. Okay, not terrible.
You
I don't
peel?
I don't hate it.
I don't need it. It looks like that's sitting second, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it time to come around yet? I almost kind of now I think it's time to peel, but
What you got here? Third, second. That Rex sitting second. Man, again, like we said, that guard's so high, and you got so much of that yellow. If you could throw like controller board and hit and flop away,
yeah, you don't want to hit and nose this, right? You want to leave the center line and maybe
yeah.
even just leave the house, right? I mean,
Yep. The draw's fine. I think they called the draw. The draw's fine. It's just if you're ever light, that's
Yeah.
really bad because then they bury. If you're heavy, that's really bad because they freeze. If you make it good, they probably hit and roll off the blue rock in the 8-foot, and then they're sitting shot. You got to make a run back. I would pretty seriously consider hitting that back yellow one, sitting 4, and telling Marcus, hey, you got a 1 guard up there. Find a way to bury it from me.
Yeah.
Of course, what's going to happen is he's going to make it perfect, and I'm going to look like an idiot that doesn't know what he's talking about.
This is a little risky. I don't think they're going to be happy with that, right? I mean, the come around it's partially covered, right? They're not edge to edge. And yeah, he's got his broom down already, so
Yeah. Well, the hard part too is they kept sweeping when it wasn't going to be there, and now it's a
yeah.
little bit cuffed by that guard, so you don't have a straight
Yeah.
tap. This is also a really smart call here by Marcus. I think you'll see a lot of teams and a lot of skips try to hit that blue one and roll because they're like, oh, we're not shot, we want to sit 2. You don't
No.
need to score 2. You just
Yep.
need to score 1.
Yeah.
So, and what's easier, a hit and roll or a drop?
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind when you're playing in your league games is draws are easier than hit and rolls. So if you can throw the draw, usually that's the best protocol.
Absolutely.
You
Gotta get
go.
it there.
Gotta be there. Take the guard, it's not bad. Hey. Oh, and you open up the blue a little bit. Okay. Now what?
So, I mean, that you're sitting shot, but you can't assume that's going to be shot at the end of the game. That's
Yeah.
too far out there. I mean, do you just try to park it top button? I mean,
Yeah, I think the hard part though is you want to win, right? You're not trying to go play an extra or a draw to the button. You want to go win, and if you go top button, they'll follow you down and sit frozen, and then you got to draw the back of the button, which is
okay.
not easy. So I think you want like top 8-foot, maybe just touching the 4-foot. You want to sit 2 and
Okay.
be like edge on edge with these yellows. You don't really want to be buried.
Yeah,
If you're top
yeah.
4-foot buried, they're gonna hit and roll, and now they're sitting shot, and you don't have a way in. But if you're even open in the top 8-foot's fine. Like if you're edge on edge in the top 8, top 4-foot, well, if they hit and roll, you got to run back for your 2. If they miss it, you got to draw. So I think it just gives you a few more options if you can use that stone.
Yeah.
The one thing he can't do is be heavy, which I don't think he is.
Well, if they keep sweeping. Hard
Gotta get
line
by
call,
the
I guess. Yeah, that was
guards.
a good line call.
Good line call, and here's where you're gonna run into issues. Like,
Yep.
yes, you're sitting 2, but now if they draw to the top of the button, yee. They got to be a little careful they don't come deep, because if they go deep, then you got the in off your blue in the 8-foot.
Let's see if you get this reference.
I feel like I've heard that. I can't place it, but I feel like I've heard that when I watch games.
Yeah, that's you definitely have. I don't know what spot Dana Ferguson was in, but she played with Chelsea Carey, and
Carey?
they would talk, and then 2 seconds before Chelsea would throw her final stone, she go, "You got this, Chelsea." So she's become the the positive affirmation right before a big shot. You got this, Chelsea.
That's big. I don't know if we talk about this enough. I am lucky enough to actually coach a couple different junior curling teams, and first off, it's awesome, and I love doing that. But one of the things I harp on all the time, and my kids, if they watch this, are gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, that's such a perfect shot. Yeah, that's pretty dang good.
Kevin loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about the kids. How's the future look?
I think the future of junior curling in the U.S. is really really exciting. Um, Even just a couple years ago when I played my last juniors in 2022, I think there was a pretty major split, at least in the men's field, where there were like, hey, there's a couple teams here, a couple teams at the mid, and then not really anybody. But I mean, going into both on the men's and the women's side this year, going into juniors, I mean, I think you have favorites on both sides, but there's like 4 or 5 different teams where if they won, I wouldn't be overly surprised.
Yeah,
And they're young too. That's one of the biggest things. Like my last junior year, the top 3 teams, almost everybody was aging out. Now some of the best teams in our country are under 18 still.
awesome.
And juniors is U20. I mean, man, we have the potential to be really good at a world level for a number of years. And I mean, a lot of that to a ton of different people. Obviously the kids, because I think we have a lot of really hardworking juniors in the country.
Oh
But
yeah, I've seen them firsthand. Yeah,
yeah, but I want to give a shout out to Mike Poplinski. He coached me for a couple of years, and he helps run the USA Junior Development Program.
nice.
Which, if you haven't checked it out and you're a younger curler looking to kind of break in to competitive curling, would highly recommend doing that. Him and Jess Schultz run it, and there's a ton of good information on there. I speak usually once or twice a year on that. Um, but that was kind of a way to give our juniors more structure in
Yeah,
coaching, because curling, because it's such a small community, has always had, your dad coaches, your mom coaches, your buddy that curled men's back in the 80s coach, right? Like, and there hasn't been a whole lot of structure, but that provides some structure, and I really think that that has helped elevate our teams, and our especially our bottom teams level, I think, has gotten a lot higher. And so
nice.
they're pushing the top teams. The top teams are pushing themselves and traveling to Canada more again. I really, I mean, like I said, I love curling, and I'm really excited for the future of junior curling this next 10 years or so.
I talked about this on the first episode, but my son is 13 and he's in the St. Paul Junior program, and got I forget this. People have heard about my son's tournament. The future looks bright. This is a tough shot.
I don't even know if the angles are there for this. I'd probably
Yeah,
throw in the out turn. I hope he makes it though. That would be awesome.
that would be sweet.
If it's there, he's gonna make it.
Oh wow.
Oh no.
I
Oh
mean,
man.
let credit goes to the previous Gleaton with that nice draw to the came around everything, top button.
Yeah, I had to make that one good to make him make a tough one.
But yeah, so like I had said in episode one, my son was in the non-competitive. He's been in the program for a couple years now, but in terms of bonspiels and tournaments and stuff, he hasn't done that many. The teams that have spent a lot of time doing this, I mean, this is just redundant, but they went out there and I was watching 12-year-olds with, they don't have any coaches out there with them on the ice, and I'm seeing the strategy that you would want of 15, 18-year-old skips, and they know what the shot call is and how to manage the game, and all of that other stuff is gonna, the balance and the delivery and the speed, all that stuff's gonna catch up. They're gonna get it through repetition. So yeah, I mean, I just see this one tiny window into a small group of junior curlers, and I'm like, this is gonna be awesome. These kids are gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, strategy I think is the biggest area that you're always going to lack in terms of your development and education. Just because unless you have a good coach sitting there going through after a game, hey, here's what you did.
Yeah,
That's a good idea, but what about this thing to accomplish that goal? Like strategy is one of the hardest things to learn to be good at, because you're gonna get more consistent. If you spend time on the ice, your slide's gonna get better. You're gonna be able to throw more weight. That's just comes with growing up a little bit.
yeah,
But when you see some of these, like you said, 13, 14, 15-year-olds calling games where it's like, man, that's some good 18-year-old, 19-year-old strategy. It's
yeah,
really
yeah.
exciting when in a couple years the bodies kind of catch up with the mind.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So that kind of wraps us up. I mean, next time you come back, I had no idea you worked at the juniors. One of the things that this podcast is going to do, submission beyond just covering club curling is talk about the kids. It's something that, so I'm a member of the TCCA, and the board that we have right now is so committed to the junior program. I spoke with Dean at USA Curling, and they're so committed to the junior program. Lisa at Minnesota Curling is so committed to junior. It just seems like everybody involved has this on their radar. I'm sure that's been the case for a long time, but it seems like holistically, it's that net is even larger than it's ever before. That like we have to have a great junior program. And I think a lot of hard work is starting to pay off. And, we're going to be really competitive for a long time. So I want to talk to you more about juniors. We ran out of time this episode. Um, let's plug your real estate. Are you in do you live in Minneapolis? Or are you down by Chaska, or where's your market? Where do you like to look for homes?
Yeah, so I live in St. Louis Park, which is kind of that southwest side of the cities. So I spend most of my time kind of in that from Egan and then south and up. My office is in Plymouth. I work at the curling club in Blaine part time. So
Oh,
mostly
cool.
kind of that west to south side of the city is my main knowledge area. But the nice part about being with Edina Realty is we have people all over. So even if it's not my market that I spend a lot of time in, I have somebody in Minnesota or all over the country. We have a great referral network all over the US. So yeah,
Nice.
definitely
I'll
reach.
put your contact information in the link in the YouTube page.
Perfect.
I'm gonna just sign you up to be a reoccurring guest. The first 5 guests, that's just part of the deal. They have to come back, often and often. And your perspective on, I mean, you've got cool stories, you've met cool people, you've done cool things, and just in the brief time I got to know you the other week at our TCCA event, um, you eat and breathe this stuff, like we all do, but you've got a different spoon that you're serving it up in. So you are welcome at Channel 7 forever, and
Right.
I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thanks. I'm so happy I got to do this, and I will definitely be taking you up on that, and hopefully I can be a regular appearance on here.
Cool, cool. I'm gonna throw it to outro, but yeah, for Channel 7 listeners, viewers, we'll do this next week. All right, thanks, guys.